Hello everyone, this is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this special audio video is for the Leo New Moon Divinations for August 8th of 2021. So this is a very special lunation because we have 2 Aquarius full moons to our 1 Leo new moon, and this is facilitating the lunar flip. So with that first Aquarius full moon that we just experienced July 23rd, we were closing out the last 18 months of what I've been calling the rhythm of creation, our way of cultivating our lives that is guided and supported and protected by the moon's rhythms. And so we follow the moon to sync up and know what is natural and best for us and what right timing is for us as well. So I love that so many of you are interested in these divinations and having fun and exploring the deeper meanings and using this information to contribute to your own intentions around this new moon, because it's very, very powerful. As we step into the Leo new moon, it sets a new rhythm and a new 18-month cycle where we're going to have the new moon precede the full moon, which means we have to plant our seeds and walk by faith to the full moon, which often lights things up and shows us what we may not have fully understood going into it. So all good, just a different way of creating or co-creating, right? So the Leo new moon brings up things every year for that department of life. And of course, this lunation is very special for anyone that has Leo, Aquarius, or Taurus, Scorpio activated in their charts. And for the rest of us, it's those areas of life that those signs rule. So no one is exempt. We still all have to work with these energies and lessons. And at this time, rebirth a completely new presentation for yourself. You know, this is when we try on new looks and present ourselves in new ways or to new people. We activate our fiery creativity and get into new projects, or we check in on old ones and renew them or revive them in some way. We check in on our identity and essential nature, because that's what Leo lights up for us, our character and integrity, what you're passionate about and devoted to, because this is the heart, y'all. Courage and strength, independence and leadership. This is all Leo energy. Self-confidence and genuine pride, self-love and self-esteem is ultimately the lesson. So every year we get to check in on these things and see how we're doing. So how's that going for you? Also think about the extreme closure we just had in terms of closing an old chapter, of recognizing that 2021 in and of itself has initiated a whole new story that we all get to live into and choose how it's going to go down. Think about your Leo house, what's going on there. This is the time and place to initiate more heart-centered dedication to that area of life. Infuse it with more joy, enthusiasm, and self-confidence in whatever you do. Create a completely new or more authentic image, right? So we are getting congruent with our internal, external being here. Connect to what makes you special or unique. Be more creative and innovative. Think differently. Address any self-love, self-worth issues that are coming up and being highlighted. Be responsible for your own happiness and success. More purposeful play and learning games. Okay, so we want to learn and we want to have a purpose, but we want to do it with joy and love and passion. You know, engage the heart. We want to be engaged. We don't want to be narcotized or numbed out or disconnected. That doesn't work for Leo. Remember, Leo Aquarius is about attachment and detachment. Leo's attached, Aquarius is detached. Here's where we just really clarify our hearts and what we really want. So every year we should review the questions to contemplate, which is, how is your self-esteem and self-confidence going right now? What is the cornerstone of your being, who you are and what you're made of? Has that changed over time, or at least in the last 2 years? Because it's been pretty intense for the last 2 years alone. What helps you remain centered in chaotic times? So how do you stay connected to your heart? You know, Shanta taught us about the gyroscope of the heart, that little mechanism that allows you to stay balanced even when big waves are going on around you. Do you listen to your heart or suppress it for appearance's sake? Are you naturally open and innocent or suspicious and cynical? Do you attract love and joy or ego and power struggles with others? Do you take time out to have fun, be free, and just be? This is also Leo's lesson, right? So taking some time out in August to just check in with yourself. How you doing? I think it's really amazing that it's been one whole year since I did the goddess videos. I released those last year during Leo Virgo time. So I'm going to send you back to my YouTube channel to review them because they're all still very good. But they were also pretty designed for this time of year in that it was guidance on our self-love and self-worth and self-value and our personal boundaries. And I did Artemis was sovereignty and self-care. Lilith was power and self-reliance. Hecate was boundaries and self-worth. And the most popular one with the most views, almost 2,000 views, is Hathor, the goddess of beauty and self-love. So she definitely led the way for the Leo energy. And so I recommend you go review those. Those are so fun and so perfect for the Leo new moon to help you tap into what you're renewing at this time. And where is the love and the passion and the heart, okay? What I did when I went into meditation for the divinations is I kind of made my own little list of things for the Leo new moon, being able to share my light without blinding folks. You know, I love to share so much and I get so excited, but I don't like overwhelming people. And over the years, you know, that's happened. And so I've gotten better at not doing that. Able to embody and express more love, light, truth, and purpose from now on. Able to magnetize abundance, intelligence, caring, compassionate humans. Yes, please. Able to naturally repel lower vibrations. Able to step up and into leadership roles when necessary. Able to radiate pure love and light from my being. And able to have more fun, excitement, romance, sex, creativity, and friends to play with, okay? So ultimately, the goal of the Leo new moon is officially getting yourself ready to attract new friends in social situations. So it's all about you. Moon and sun is very personal and it's about the individual. But when we do the new moon chart for August 8th, Moon, Sun, and Mercury are all together in the 11th house of friends and hopes and dreams in our community. So this is where the new beginning is happening in Leo. And then across the way, in the creativity department, we have Saturn and Jupiter, which is backed up into Aquarius. They're both in their truth and purpose in the 5th house of fun, games, theater, storytelling. This is how humans learn. We don't necessarily learn better with a gun to our head or pressure or any of that. We learn better when we are free to be imaginative and creative and co-creative and to bounce off each other and to share the energies and the ideas, right? So we're anchoring something new that's going to serve the community. So on one hand, with Jupiter and Saturn in the 5th house, you're anchoring your unique contribution in a lot of ways there. And then across the way, your Leo and the new moon parts of you are magnetizing all of the new, like I said, social situations or your new team of people and cohorts and people that you're going to learn and play and work with in the next year and a half, over the next 18 months, right? So this is the kickoff. This is an initiation. Now, what's also kind of brilliant and strong and amazing about this Leo Aquarius dynamic is that Uranus, along with Ceres, which is how we nurture and like to be nurtured, are in Taurus. So now we've got 3 of the 4 fixed signs engaged for our new moon, which means we have to bring the Scorpio in consciously, which is channeling your power, being creative, trusting in the seeds that you're planting and that all seeds germinate in the darkness. And that's okay. But we have to make these adjustments in these other areas to channel our power better. And when we're able to do that, because that falls in the 2nd house, it is our magnetics. That's where our power is to manifest the life we want to live, the people we want to play with and work with and be with, all of it. Work on your magnetic field this month. That's what this new moon is really, really juicy for. And the other thing that jumped out as pretty important about this chart is that the North Node in Gemini is at 8 degrees, which means the south node is at 8 degrees Sagittarius. Juno, what we're deeply wedded to and how we do partnership, collaboration, and relationships on every level, intimate and otherwise, is at 8 degrees Sag. So this tells me that as we upgrade our presentation and what we are becoming, and so our emergent self is coming out and we're starting to share it with others, it's going to force certain aspects of our relationships to either rise to a new truth and into a new story or go away. That's just how it is. If you start expressing in new ways and at a higher vibration, you're going to stop attracting. The old vibration is not going to work. And so it falls away naturally. There's no pain or suffering, no drama, no trauma. But just know that any relationships right now that we're seeding need to be rooted in the heart and based on truth. And everyone needs to be sovereign and aligned with their own inner authority and power to hold the structure of their lives. Which brings us right back around to self-love, self-worth, and self-value, which is the ultimate theme of the fixed signs anyway. Leo is that self-love that believes in the light that comes from you and that authentic self that wants to radiate out. When you love yourself, you can be authentic. Aquarius is that unique contribution. You have that value, that self-value that knows you have something unique to contribute, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And then Taurus is our self-worth and self-value in our physicality and our physical creature comforts and what we believe we're actually worth. And that's big because some people really go bare bones and minimalist, which I get the value of the minimalist lifestyle to honor Mother Earth. Absolutely. But there's another side of that where we devalue ourselves and we hold ourselves in these lower frequencies that aren't good for us. When you really value yourself, you raise that frequency, you express more beauty and you surround yourself with more beauty in Taurus. And that's how you raise the vibe. And then you feel more valuable and worthy of what you're attracting or magnetizing. But in Taurus, you're still very much all about your magnetics. And Scorpios, whether you believe you have any power to facilitate change of any kind, right? So believing in yourself that you are not always a victim or that all the power is outside of you. Scorpio is that knowing that you are a powerful spirit in a human form and that you are a powerful child of God and of Mother Earth. You are the magician and you know how to manipulate the 4 elements to create your life. That's what we do and that's what we practice by following the moon. This is the season and time to check in, like we said, with your heart, making sure that what you're doing and dedicating your time and energy to is what you really care about. And we're resetting all of that for the next year and a half. So what I did differently about these divinations is that I did the same layout and oracles for the 2 Aquarius full moons, but I mixed it up for the Leo new moon. In this one, I held and opened Women Who Run with the Wolves, which was very powerful. I opened to the chapter called Heat, Retrieving a Sacred Sexuality. We're going to go deeper into what that is and share. And then I did actually pull the same cards that I did for all the other ones, just not as many. I did 1 card for an ancestor message, 1 animal message, and 1 thing to do. So for the Leo new moon, I held and opened Women Who Run with the Wolves, which is by Clarissa Pinkola-Estes. And I landed on this part that has more to do with humor than sex. So it's just one of those things where we know that laughter is medicine. Laughter is healing. It's very related. When we laugh from the belly, it's the same place that gets stirred up when we are in our power, in our sexual power. So here's where I landed. This truly is the kind of story I think Bobo told. Her repertoire includes anything that makes women laugh like that. Unrestrained, not caring about showing your tonsils, letting your belly hang out, letting your breasts shake. There is something about a sexual laugh that is different from a laugh about more tame things, let's say. A sexual laugh seems to reach both far and deep into the psyche, shaking all manner of things loose. playing upon our bones and making a delightful feeling course through the body. It is a form of wildish pleasure that belongs to every woman's psychic repertoire. Deep breath. This is what we can call back in with the Leo new moon. The sacred and the sensual sexual live very near one another in the psyche, for they are all brought to attention through a sense of wonder, not from intellectualizing, but through experiencing something through the physical pathways of the body, something that for the moment or forever, whether it is a kiss, a vision, a belly laugh, or whatever changes us, shakes us out, takes us to a pinnacle, smooths out our lines, gives us a dance step, a whistle, a true burst of life. Deep breath. In the sacred, the obscene, the sexual, there is always a wild laugh waiting, a short passage of silent laughter, or crone nasty laughter, or the wheeze that is a laugh, or the laugh that is wild and animal, or the trill that is like a run on the musical scale. Laughter is a hidden side of women's sexuality. It is physical, elemental, passionate, vitalizing, and therefore arousing. It is a kind of sexuality that does not have a goal, as does genital arousal. It is a sexuality of joy, just for the moment, a true sensual love that flies free and lives again on its own energy. It is sacred because it is so healing. It is sensual for it awakens the body and the emotions. It is sexual because it is exciting and causes waves of pleasure. It is not one-dimensional, for laughter is something one shares with oneself as well as with many others. It is a woman's wildest sexuality. Here is another peek at women's stories and the dirty goddesses. This is a story I found as a child. It is amazing what children hear that adults think they do not hear. Deep breath. This is called A Trip to Rwanda. I was about 12 years old, and we were at Big Bass Lake up in Michigan. After cooking breakfast and lunch for 40 people, all my nice and round female relatives, my mother and my aunts, were lying out in the sun on chaise lounges, sunning themselves, talking and joking. The men were, quote-unquote, fishing, which meant they were off having a good time cussing and telling their own kinds of jokes and stories. I was playing somewhere near the women. Suddenly I heard piercing shrieks. Filled with alarm, I raced to where the women were, but they were not crying out in pain. The women were laughing, and my one auntie kept saying over and over again, when she could get her breath between shrieks, covered their faces, and this mysterious sentence would send all of them off into fits of laughter once again. They shrieked, screamed, gulped, and shrieked some more for a long, long time. On one of my aunt's laps lay a magazine. Much later, as all the women dozed in the sun, I slipped the magazine out from under her sleeping hand and lay under the chaise reading with big eyes. On the page was an anecdote from World War II. It went something like this. General Eisenhower was going to visit the troops in Rwanda. And it might have been Borneo and it might have been General MacArthur. The names meant very little to me then. The governor wanted all the native women to stand by the side of the dirt road and cheer and wave to welcome Eisenhower as he drove by in his Jeep. The only problem was that the native women never wore any clothes, other than a necklace of beads and sometimes a long thong belt. No, that would never do. So the governor called the headman of the tribe and told him the predicament. No worry, said the headman. If the governor could provide several dozen skirts and blouses, he would see to it that the women dressed in them for this one-time special event. And these the governor and local missionaries managed to provide. However, on the day of the great parade, and just minutes before Eisenhower was to drive down the long road in his Jeep, it was discovered that while all the native women dutifully wore the skirts, but they did not like the blouses and had left them at home. So now all the women were lined up and down both sides of the road, skirted but bare-breasted, and with not another stitch on and no underwear at all. Well, the governor had apoplexy when he heard, and he angrily summoned the head man, who assured him that the head woman had conferred with him and assured him that the women had agreed on a plan to cover their breasts when the general drove by. And he said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes, I'm very sure. I'm very, very sure," said the head man. Well, there was no time left to argue, and we can only guess at General Eisenhower's reaction as his Jeep came chugging by, and woman after bare-breasted woman gracefully lifted up the front of her full skirt and covered her face with it. I lay under the chaise lounge, stifling my laughter. It was the silliest story I'd ever heard. It was a wonderful story, a thrilling story. But intuitively, I also knew that it was contraband. So I kept it to myself for years and years. And sometimes in the midst of hard times, during tense times, or even before taking tests in college, I would think of the women from Rwanda covering their faces with their skirts and no doubt laughing into them. And I would laugh and feel centered and strong and down to earth. This, no doubt, is the other gift of women's jokings and shared laughter. It all becomes a medicine for the tough times, a strengthener for later. It is good, clean, dirty fun. Can we imagine the sexual and the irreverent as sacred? Yes, of course, especially when they are medicinal, leading to a wholeness and a mending of the heart. Deep breath. Jung noted that if someone came to his office complaining of a sexual issue, the real issue was more often a problem of spirit and soul. When a person told of a spiritual problem, often it was really a problem about the sexual nature. In that sense, sexuality can be fashioned as a medicine for the spirit and is therefore sacred. The sexual laughter is also medicine. It is sacred laughter. And whatever causes healing laughter is sacred as well. When laughter helps without doing harm, when laughter lightens, realigns, reorders, reasserts power and strength, this is the laughter that causes health. When the laughter makes people glad they are alive, happy to be here, more conscious of love, heightened with eros, when it lifts their sadness and severs them from their anger, that is sacred. When they are made bigger, made better, more generous, more sensitive, that is sacred. In the wild woman archetype, there is more room for the nature of the dirty goddesses. In the wild nature, the sacred and the irreverent, the sacred and the sexual are not separate from one another, but live together like, I suspect, a group of old women just waiting down the road for us to drop by. They are there in your psyche, waiting for you to show up, trying out their stories on one another and laughing like dogs. Deep breath. So laughter is medicine and unlocks blockages that is so vital for the heart to work and function properly. Also, since we are working on our magnetics here, the heart is the only electromagnetic organ in the body, and it is connected to the electromagnetic field of the earth. So we constantly send light to and from our hearts and regenerate that field of light and power and strength. And all that can also be initiated anew during a Leo new moon, and you can really reconnect with your heart in a beautiful, beautiful way. So that was our guidance instead of the I Ching. And then the ancestor card was number 14, Father Simms. This again is from the HooDoo Tarot by Tayannah McQuillar, and the artwork is by Caitlin Foisey. When Father Simms comes up in a reading, it's asking you to review your position regarding your inquiry. If you've taken an extreme or one-sided position, now's the time to consider things from a more balanced perspective. Things do not have to be black and white, so don't force it to be. If you have been asked to compromise or cooperate, but you feel resistant to the idea, this card is a good sign that you haven't considered all the aspects of the situation. If you've been asked to give someone an answer, don't respond until you feel more centered. To do otherwise would cause deep regret and feelings to be hurt unnecessarily. Try to be fair. Here are the bullets. What would be gained by compromising? Is it worth more than the perceived loss? Are you being fair? Sometimes less is more. Extremists never think they're extreme. Peace is priceless. Focus on healing and recovery. An alliance is not such a bad idea. What am I bringing to the potluck dinner? Perhaps add something else to the mix. Other races, religions, and ethnic groups exist. Maybe it's time to learn more about other people. Deep breath, opening your heart, expanding at the heart. So vital for here and now. And then our animal support for the Leo new moon was BEAVER. And this is from White Eagle Medicine Wheel, Native American Wisdom as a Way of Life by Eliana Harvey. So BEAVER keywords are industry, flexibility, and creativity. So that's another thing about the Leo new moon. We're activating new creative projects, and it's so juicy. If Beaver swims down the river towards you, it is asking you to look at the structures you have created in your life. Do they support and protect you? Or have they become a cage, limiting your ability to flow and be flexible? Perhaps you need to use your industriousness, creativity, and capacity for teamwork to create new and better structures. This can refer to your emotional as well as your physical environment. Remember that there is strength and protection in family and community bonds. If reversed, and we always look at the shadow just so we can be aware, reversed Beaver means that you may be stuck in old patterns, forgetting to use your initiative and creativity in order to build something more sustaining. Perhaps you have succumbed to inertia, simply letting yourself drift with the current. Beaver always keeps its head out of the water. Perhaps you have allowed yourself to be submerged, or perhaps your work is overwhelming. The message here is it's time to take action. If you need to find a family, a strong house, or create a new and effective business, call on Beaver's building and consolidating abilities. Deep breath. Love it. And our thing to do is a walking meditation. A walking meditation is where you walk slowly about 75% of your usual pace, breathing in rhythm with every step. While outdoors, walk for 10 minutes at a much slower pace, coordinating your breathing with each step. Walk on Earth Mother barefoot each day to bring health and healing. The affirmation says, I am aware of my breath and each step that I take. Deep breath. And see, when we're our authentic selves or we're centered in our heart, it's not even a debate. Things are automatic because you're following your heart. So that is our divinations for the Leo new moon. And I hope you will stay tuned for the third segment in this very special series for the final Aquarius full moon release coming up August 22nd. All right, everyone. I will remind you here too that I do divinations for individuals as well. If you're looking for any kind of energetic support or for me to pull cards just for you, of course, reach out and let me know. This is Kelly of Karmic Tools signing off.